Hello everyone, another great day in the history of India, setting India free from the colonial legacy, the day when Rajpath becomes Kartavya Path, and the day when the statue of Subhash Chandra Bose, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, is going to be unveiled on this Kartavya Path. Let's try understand how the facts related with these events can be helpful for us, be it our pre or mains exam. Let me try give you the important facts in today's session. After the session, this video session, you will get the notes in our Telegram group, and the link to that Telegram group is shared in the description. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Telegram group to get all the quality content absolutely free of cost for all the time to come. So friends, let's start understanding the story. The story starts not from 1920s or 1911s that the capital is being shifted. Let's start the story from 1943. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the head of INA, Indian National Army, is giving a call, Delhi Chalo. And today he is going to come there and stand tall on this Kartavya Path, telling that what are the Kartavya of the leadership. This reminds me of something different now. It reminds me of the Indian civilizational value system. When we talk about dharma in Indian civilization, we think that it is dharam, the religion, the spirituality. But when I peep inside the literature of the ancient civilization of India, I find that there is reference of Raj Dharma. What are the duties, what are the responsibilities of the one who rules? And this shows the commitment of the present regime under the dynamic leadership of our beloved Prime Minister Mr. Modi, that we are not here to rule, we are here to be dutiful, we are here to serve the nation, the people who have reposed faith in us, who have shown their trust in us, we are here to serve them. So it is a mark, it is a path, it is a way which is not a path of the Raja, the Rajpath, it is not king's way. It had been when the crown of England came to make Delhi the capital of India. Today, it is the path on which the people will walk while they are chosen to sit in the Parliament of India. They have been elected by the people and have been given many responsibilities to serve the nation and its people. It is the path on which the ministers and the bureaucrats who will come and sit in the north or the south block, they will come. Be it the President of India or the Prime Minister, the ministers or the secretaries, whosoever will come on this path, they will be knowing that they have the responsibilities and the duties. They are not the ones who are having that idea of power on their head. With this, let's try understand the journey from Rajpath to Kartavya Path. Friends, the first question of the day will be, when the capital was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi, and the second question will be why Delhi was chosen to be the new capital. So the story is 1773 the Regulating Act was passed. When the Regulating Act was passed, Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of Bengal, and Bengal became the center of British administration in India. Now that Bengal was the center of British administration in India, it started to develop as the hub of new culture, new activity, new education. And because of this new education in Bengal, the Bengali youth became inspired by the Western ideas. But this Bengali youth knew that the roots have to be kept intact. Seeking inspiration from the past and aiming for a better and brighter future, the Bengali youth, with the names like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Keshav Chandra Sen and many more, they now started to work on a phenomena which will then be called as Bengal Renaissance or Indian Renaissance. Why they are called Renaissance? Because we are trained into the thought processes on the Western lines. In Indian civilization, there is no space for Renaissance, there is no Punarjagran, we were never in the dark ages, we were never sleeping. There is always a continuity in the Indian civilization. Having said this, even if we say that this was Bengal Renaissance, this Bengal Renaissance will lead to the social reforms in India. With the social reforms, the prelude to the rise of nationalism will be laid, and then there will be a nationalist activity. The initiation of this with the names like Surindernath Banerjee making Indian Association, organizing Indian National Conference as a predecessor to the birth of Indian National Congress. Now that Bengal has not just been a center of education, it has not just been a center of reforms, it also became a center of nationalism. Once Bengal became a center of nationalism, there was some sort of challenge to the British imperial might. With the challenge, the British realized that the easiest way to handle the situation is divide and rule. To play this game of divide and rule, the British made up their mind to partition Bengal, and it was carried out in 1905 during the times of Lord Curzon, the then Governor General Viceroy of India. Now that Bengal has been partitioned, to a large extent it backfired. Why? Because it made Indian nationalism enter into a new phase, the phase of extremism as well as revolution. Revolution through the activities of the organizations in Bengal like Anushilan Samiti and Yugantar Samiti. The assassination of the unpopular British officers, all this created fear in the minds of the British, and then the Governor General Lord Hastings II himself informed the King of England that the time has come to shift the capital. This is one of the reasons, not the only reason. What was the other reason to now shift the capital from Calcutta to Delhi? The other reason was when the British started, they started from Bengal, the Battle of Plassey 1757, the Battle of Buxar 1764, but then the conquest and the expansion started. They conquered Mysore by 1799, they came to the Maratha regions and conquered them by 1818, and then they conquered Punjab. While conquering Punjab, they have reached up to the borders of Afghanistan. Now how is it possible to administer well, administer with efficiency while you sit in one eastern corner and you have to manage up to the western corners, the northwest frontier province? How is it possible? And the British desire was even to go beyond that. They were aiming to control even Afghanistan as well as on the other side Burma. Now sitting in Calcutta, how can you manage all this? So you have to shift to a more convenient, more strategic place, and what better can be than Delhi? Why Delhi? Since the medieval times, from the times of Delhi Sultanate and even during the times of Mughal, Delhi and the surrounding area had been the capital. It had been the not just the capital political, it also had been the cultural capital. So going back to Delhi, making it important once again will serve the purpose for British as well. If you remember, this is a time when British were trying to co-opt the Muslims. The partition of Bengal 1905, the birth of Muslim League 1906, and separate electorate for Muslim 1909 through Minto-Morley reforms tells us that this is a time when they were following the policy of appeasing the Muslims. Now to bring back the capital to Delhi, which has been the political center, the cultural center under the Muslim rule, will bring more confidence to the Muslims that they can be friends with the British. So there were multiple reasons, not any one reason. So Delhi officially was announced to be the capital in 1911 when Lord Hastings II was the Governor General. Now that the capital has been announced, I hope you all understand it will not be a miracle that you create such a huge paraphernalia, all the structures, buildings, roads, all the necessities of a city within a year or a couple of years. So it will take a time. Timeline is very important here. Please note it down. 1911, the capital was announced to be shifted. 1912, the capital was shifted. And now that the capital is being shifted, the capital of the biggest jewel in the British crown, that is India, the capital is being shifted. Who else will come to inaugurate but the British King himself, George V. When George will come to India, he cannot come to Calcutta. Calcutta is already disturbed. He will come to Bombay. There are no flights. He cannot land in Delhi. He has to sail from London. So by sailing from London, he will land at Bombay. Now you need to welcome the king. So Gateway of India will be made. Now you need to welcome the king warmly. The Jana Gana Man will be sung on that day, right, in the honor of the British king. Let's not go into this controversy that if the song was sung for the British king, why it is our national anthem. Obviously, yes, this is an important question. We will discuss it in one of the subsequent lectures. But trust me, there is nothing wrong in Jan Gan Man being our national anthem. There shouldn't be any controversy. Fine. Now that the king has come, the capital is being shifted, Lord Hardinge is the Governor General. Another very important personality that we should now bring here is Rash Bihari Bose, the one who will throw the bomb that will lead to Delhi Conspiracy Case 1. Delhi Conspiracy Case 1, when Rash Bihari Bose throws bomb on the convoy of the Governor General Lord Hardinge II, and the Delhi Conspiracy 2. Delhi Conspiracy 2 is the case when Bhagat Singh will throw the bomb in the Central Assembly. So there are two Delhi Conspiracy cases. Usually students confuse between the two. One is when Rash Bihari Bose is throwing the bomb, and the two is when Bhagat Singh, Shaheed-e-Azam Bhagat Singh is throwing the bomb in the Central Assembly. Both the cases are in Delhi, both the cases are of bomb throwing, but two different personalities. Case 1, Rash Bihari Bose. Case 2 is Shaheed-e-Azam Sardar Bhagat Singh. Right? Now the capital is shifted to Delhi. When the capital is shifted to Delhi and the king has been invited, there has to be a pomp and show for the king. So this is the king's way, on the way on which the king will walk on that day with a sense of pride. I rule over you. You are my slaves. Right? This is the way the king will think and walk with a sense of pride on that road, around which you will create the Viceroy's house, the parliament and whatnot. Now that we are independent and we changed the name from the King's Way to Rajpath, wasn't it just the literal translation? Today we are going to tell that this is not the path on which the king walks. This is not the path on which the people with power on their head walk. This is the path on which the servants of the people, the leaders who believe that they have been chosen to serve the society, to serve the nation, to serve its people, when they walk, this is the Kartavya Path. So this is how the name is changed. This is how the historical background is to be understood. Now that this new city is being made, we need to bring some important names. The names like Lutyens and Herbert Baker, the architects of New Delhi. They will take some time. As I told you, 1911 the capital was announced to be shifted. 1912 the capital was shifted. Now please mark it on the notebook that yes, it was 1927 that it was named as New Delhi. 1927 it was named New Delhi, and it was officially inaugurated in 1931. And in 1931, who was the Governor General? Lord Irwin. Right? So 1911 it was announced to be shifted during the time of Lord Hardinge II as Governor General. 1912 it was shifted. 1927 it was given the name of New Delhi. 1931 it was officially inaugurated when Lord Irwin was the Governor General. I hope you remember Irwin. With Irwin comes to mind the civil disobedience, Gandhi-Irwin Pact and the Round Table Conferences. Right? So now this is our new capital. When we talk about this new capital, again Subhash Chandra Bose, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in 1943 gave his famous slogan Delhi Chalo. So now that it is a Kartavya mark, let Netaji stand tall there and make sure that the leaders know what their Kartavya are and they fulfill it. And the vision of Subhash, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, is very important. In this video itself, I will be trying to make you understand that what was the vision of Netaji, how it was little similar and little different from what it was the vision of our first Prime Minister Pandit Nehru, and to what an extent it was similar or different from the vision of the father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi. Father of the nation, the name itself given by Subhash to Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, when he was planning in his final stages that how the INA will reach India. Now before we talk about anything else, let us connect one more personality where I left that personality, Rash Bihari Bose. This Bengali leader, a great Bengali leader, a revolutionary, a nationalist, a true nationalist, while he threw a bomb on Lord Hardinge and Lord Hardinge escaped it. Now Rash Bihari Bose too escaped from India. He went to Japan. Now the same man, Rash Bihari Bose, who went to Japan, he will also be active in the Gadar party movement, the Gadar movement of USA. He will also be helping the people in Berlin Committee, Chattopadhyay. During World War I, his efforts were immense. He wanted to bring a revolution in India. Somehow it could not materialize, but he will not give up. He will continue with the same zeal. And when during World War II, when the British will send the British Indian Army to stop the Japanese aggression from the side of Burma, one such unit of Indian Army led by Captain Mohan Singh and others, they were then taken as prisoners of war by the Japanese. Now Rash Bihari Bose will come, convince the Japanese that instead of keeping them as prisoners of war, let's use them to fight against the British in India, and INA will be conceived. The same Rash Bihari Bose who was there in World War I or while the Delhi was becoming the new capital, the same person is back in the picture. He is instrumental, he is the brain behind the making of INA under Captain Mohan Singh. But somehow the things could not work very well. Now Rash Bihari Bose will send an invite to Subhash Chandra Bose. He will be invited to take over the command, and when Netaji will take over the command, the slogan of Delhi Chalo will be there, and now the slogan of Jai Hind will be there, and together they will plan. Together here is not just Subhash but Rash Bihari Bose and many other leaders. Together they will plan that how they can fight a military war against Britain during the time of World War II, when it is Britain's difficulty which can be made India's opportunity. Somehow the leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, who are talking about Quit India movement at that time, the aim is to make the British leave India, but through a different method. This time even Gandhiji has given a slogan of do or die, and Subhash Chandra Bose on the other hand is talking about military intervention through Indian nationalists, through Indians themselves, to make British flee from India. So both had the same aim, a little bit of difference in approach though, right? But this time even Quit India was not all peaceful, and even Gandhiji was not resisting the change of the use of violence during Quit India movement, right? So Subhash Chandra Bose now is here as a leader of INA, who before coming to India, sending his army to India, had been even the member and leader and president of Congress. To know some more important facts about Subhash, he was an ICS, rank 4, went to London for his training, came to know that Mahatma Gandhiji has planned his non-cooperation movement of 1920. He decided to serve the country, resigned his job, came back, but by the time he was back, because of that event of Chauri Chaura, which again was in news, right? We all know that. So when this is the 100th year of Chauri Chaura. So yes, when because of Chauri Chaura Gandhiji had to call it off, Subhash was not very happy. The difference is visible that Subhash wanted that for a little bit of violence, for the crime of few people in down somewhere Himalayas, the entire nation should not be brought on the knees. That means Subhash Chandra Bose wanted that the movement should continue, the momentum should continue, but Gandhiji decided and the movement was called off. Now Subhash as a leader started active participation through Youth Congress, Young Congress, and then he went ahead, continued his participation during the times of Simon Commission. Subhash Chandra Bose along with Jawaharlal Nehru was talking about Puran Swaraj. This was the idea floated by Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru in the 1928 session itself. And then Subhash went up to become the president of Congress in 1938 at the Haripura session, and again despite being opposed by a stalwart leader like Mahatma Gandhi, who was favoring the candidature of Patabhi Sitaramaya, Subhash once again won election in 1939 at the Tripuri session, though it is a fact that he had to resign because of the resistance of the core committee. And then he revived his forward bloc, and after reviving the forward bloc, which was based on his socialist ideology, Subhash left India once he has been detained. You know why he was detained? Because of his anti-Holwell Satyagrah. Can you tell me what was that anti-Holwell Satyagrah? That reminds me of Plassey, that black hole tragedy. I hope you can now draw the parallels. Now that Subhash escaped from Calcutta to Peshawar. From Peshawar, he is to go to Germany, he is to go to Japan, he is even to try contact the Russians. He is trying his best. For what? To create one such energy, to create one such force that can ensure freedom, emancipation for his mother country, for his motherland, India. While Subhash got this opportunity when he was invited by Rash Bihari Bose, he took over the command, he is there in Singapore and he is giving the slogans like Chalo Delhi and Jai Hind. This man was telling British that this is no more possible for them to hold their power in India. India is awakened, India is desirous, and there is nothing short of independence that we will settle for anymore. And he was ready to see India even if he die. He was ready to see India free even if he die. For him, independence was important, not his life. Now this man, Subhash Chandra Bose, who is the founder of Azad Hind Fauj, he should also be remembered for his Free Government of India in Exile, Arzi Hukumat-e Hind, that was established from Andaman Nicobar Islands, which he got possession of with the help of the Japanese authority, and then he rechristened, renamed the islands as Shaheed and Swaraj Islands. The vision is very clear. We respect those who have laid down their life for the nation. We respect the idea of independence, Swaraj, Shaheed, very important names. Then Subhash Chandra Bose, after making his Azad Hind Fauj, after establishing his Arzi Hukumat-e Hind, unfortunately we lost him in an accident. Again, something that is controversial. Let's not today go into these controversies. This man who had a vision, his vision included the idea of empowerment of women, which is manifested in the way he made an all-women brigade, Rani Jhansi regiment, headed by Captain Lakshmi Sehgal. So he was trying to give an idea that how this independent India will be thinking. There will be equality, there will be equality of in political terms, equality in social terms, equality in economic terms. His vision was the vision of socialism. This great personality, now let's compare his ideas with the ideas of others, and these are some important facts which we should remember. The idea of Prakram Divas, 23rd January, his birthday, the government has decided to celebrate it as Prakram Divas, right? Now when we talk about this idea, let's see this table, that how we can compare the three personalities of Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. If we talk about the ideological views, Gandhi's ideas focused on non-violence, whereas his ideas of Subhash were more pragmatic, and they were simply the manifestation of his anti-imperialist stand, and Pandit Nehru was talking about democratic socialism. When we talk about the form of government in India, Gandhiji's idea was of like Panchayati Raj, right, grassroots democracy, decentralized parts, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose, he believed in democracy but more focus was on discipline and orderly approach, and Pandit Nehru believed in parliamentary democracy. When we talk about militarism, right, idea of army, military, Gandhiji was totally not in favor of it. His idea was of the non-violent Ram Rajya, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose had a daring approach attracted to military discipline, and on the other hand Subhash Chandra Bose, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, was more cautious about the use of violence, and he followed the ideas of Gandhiji to some extent, right? His philosophies, his ideas, his idealism reflect somewhere the imprints of Gandhian ideology as well. When we talk about the ideas on economy, where Gandhiji was against large scale industrialization, he was talking more about the cottage industry. Subhash, on the other hand, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, talked about economic freedom and considered heavy industry to be the backbone of national economy, but at the same time he was also a believer of Swadeshi culture and tradition. Now when we talk about Pandit Nehru, massive industrialization, scientific and technological advancement was the key for strong economy according to him. When we talk about religion, Gandhiji believed, he was a firm believer in God, and he was a man of religion. When we talk about Bose, Bose believed in Upanishadic teachings. He was inspired by Swami Vivekananda and he was totally against superstitions. When we talk about Pandit Nehru, he was against organized religion, inclination toward religious values than towards established religions. We can say that he was a blend of faith and science. Now when we talk about caste and untouchability and the name of Gandhiji, we always believe that he did a yeoman's job, a great job for the eradication of untouchability. When we talk about him, he had 3 goals for society, the goals being eradication of untouchability, though maintaining the Varna distinction of caste system and strengthening tolerance, modesty and religiosity in India. Now when we talk about Subhash Chandra Bose, he totally rejected social inequality and caste system. He was in favor of intercaste marriages, believed in egalitarianism, equality, castelessness and classlessness, his idea of socialism. When we talk about Pandit Nehru, question the caste system and strive for casteless and classless society. He considered the rigid caste system to be unsuitable for democracy. Now when we talk about the position of women, the role of these 3 personalities, when we talk about Gandhiji, he aimed at upliftment of women, opposed child marriage, dowry system, female infanticide and the harsh treatment against the widows. When we talk about Subhash Chandra Bose, women to be equal with the men, they should be prepared to fight and sacrifice for freedom. Example is Rani Jhansi Brigade or Regiment of Azad Hind Fauj. When we talk about Pandit Nehru, empowerment of women was also on his mind. If you educate a man, you educate an individual. If you educate a woman, you educate the entire family. Now education. Gandhiji was against English system of education. He favored free education, his ideas being the ideas of Nai Talim or basic education. With that you can relate that Vardha scheme of education. Then when we talk about Subhash Chandra Bose, he was in favor of higher education, especially technical and scientific education, as he desired an industrial India. He wanted Indian students to go abroad for training in accordance with a very clear vision to make India great. And when we talk about Pandit Nehru, considered education as a means of social change. Impressed by the scientific progress of the West, he visualized Western aims and means for primary, secondary and university levels of education. These are the important facts that you can compare parallels and differences between the 3 great leaders, right? These are the important facts which you should keep in mind. But at the end, once again, the Rajpath when becomes the Kartavya Path, it sends the loud clear message that what the present government is thinking about, what are the aims and objectives, what is the vision. And when today the statue of our beloved Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose is going to be inaugurated, what better a tribute to this man can be but for telling once again to the world and to the nation, Jai Hind, and we live and die for our country. We love India. Thank you very much.